Hi, this is the History of Israel podcast, an Each My Own Beat podcast. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, we'll be discussing the history of Israel. This is not a podcast to say which side is right, which side is wrong. It's not a podcast to talk about the war which is happening in Palestine. It's just simply the history of Israel.
Welcome back to episode 35 of the History of Israel podcast, literature and poetry during the late antiquity. In the field of literature, late antiquity is known as the declining use of classical Greek and Latin, and the rise of literary cultures in Syriac, Armenian, Georgian, Ethiopic, Arabic, and Coptic. It also marks a shift in literary style with a preference for encyclopedic works in a dense and elusive style, consisting of summaries of earlier works, such as anthologies or epitomes, often dressed up in elaborate allegorical garb, such as the Maritus Capella and the De Arithmetica, De Musica, De Constellatine Philosophy of Boethelius, both are later key works in the medieval education. 4th and 5th centuries also saw an explosion of Christian literature, of which Greek writers such as Eusebius of Caesarea, Basil of Caesarea, Gregory of Nazianzus, and John Chrysostom, and Latin writers such as Ambrose of Milan, Jerome, and Augustine of Hippo are also among most of the renowned representatives. On the other hand, authors such as Ammianus Marcellus and the Preoccupus of Caesarea were able to keep the tradition of classical Hellenistic historiography alive in the Byzantine Empire. Due to the several factors of the era, among them were the political instability and the constant military threats, treatises on war became a popular genre, with the Byzantine and military manuals achieving a great renown and influence, the most famous of which, Strategigon, attributed to Emperor Maurice, which written in the 6th century. One genre of literature among Christian writers in this period was the hexameron, dedicated to the composition of commentaries, homilies, and treatises concerned with the exegesis of the Genesis creative narrative. The first example of this was the hexameron of Basil of Caesarea, which the occurrence of the Syriac literature began the hexameron of Jacob of Serug. Poetry. Greek poets of the late antique period included Antonius Liberalis, Quintus Cimmerianus, Nonnus, Romanius the Modest, and Paul the Silentary. Latin poets include Oceanoius, Paulinus of Nola, Claudian, Rutilius Nomadicus, Orientus, Sidius Apollinaris, Corapius, and Erator. Jewish poets included Yanni, Eleazar ben Kalir, and Yos ben Yose.
This has been the History of Israel podcast. Check back every Wednesday for new episodes. We're available on Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. We also have each episode streaming on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. We're available on eattomyownbeat.com as well as the History of Israel podcast on Facebook.